Australia is being urged to follow the lead of the US Food and Drug Administration after they unveiled a roadmap to phase out routine animal testing in drug development, replacing it with AI-driven and lab-based methodologies known as new approach methodologies. Over the next 5 years, the FDA wants animal studies to be the exception, not the rule. Australia risks falling behind other nations in the race to modernise testing frameworks, with the US and Europe committing to take a bold stance on public health, research ethics and biotech innovation. We're joined right now by the Chief Executive Officer at Animal Free Science Advocacy, Rachel Smith. Rachel, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Look, Rachel, this looks like a massive turning point for global drug development.
Yes, I would say it's a huge development. Obviously, the US is one of the leaders in drug development, and 52% of the global pharmaceutical market is from the US, so I think it really will have global implications.
Now, according to the FDA Commissioner, using AI-based computer modelling, human organ model lab testing and real-world human data, it'll get safer treatments to patients faster and more reliably, while also reducing R&D costs and drug prices. It all sounds almost too good to be true.
Yes, I mean, that's obviously the motivations, financial, safety reasons, timing, and the current methods of using animals has a very limited predictive value over human response. You know, we have up to 95 to 90% of drugs that have been tested on animals not being proven to be safe or effective in humans. So I think it's really been prompted by that failure rate and the need to get drugs to patients on a faster and more effective time frame.
Does Australia face any risks in not aligning its regulatory processes with global leaguers like the FDA? And what would our national roadmap need to look like to keep us competitive?
Yes, I would say that there are risks from lagging behind in adopting these measures and aligning with the FDA, particularly for local industries in Australia we have emerging industries that are focused on human-relevant research methods such as organ on a chip, and I think that if we don't align with the FDA, we'll have the risk of those companies potentially moving overseas or focusing their clinical trials overseas. So I definitely think that there is a risk here, and we almost have a roadmap in Australia because the CSIRO released a roadmap for preclinical testing 2 years ago. It's just that the government hasn't responded to that roadmap, and this suggestion on that CSIRO report, one of the forefront recommendations was alignment with the FDA. So I think that's really something that we could be doing, aligning with the FDA, providing more resourcing for the TGA and providing clarity for drug sponsors if they can use non-animal methods in lieu of animal studies at an early stage, how they can do that to give them the confidence to use those methods.
Yeah, I would imagine there would be great public support for ending animal testing in Australia. Why do you think Australia is holding back?
Yes, I would agree with the public sentiment. I mean, public sentiment is generally opposed to animal research, but it does differ depending on the species or what the intended outcome is. But if people are aware that the failure rate using animals is so high, that will obviously lead to support for replacement methods which are more accurate and more ethical. And as to why we're not taking that action, I think that there's starting to be some change, but it's just not fast enough. And I'm hoping that this change in the US will prompt the regulatory agencies. Okay, this is happening overseas. It's going to still lead to effective drugs. It's better for a whole range of different reasons, and I think this will be the prompt to take more action than the initial kind of steps and report that they've released, and actually take the recommendations and put the resourcing behind the report to see it be implemented. Are
you currently in active discussions with the government, and if so, what reaction are you getting from them?
Yes, so we are in discussions with the TGA. We're also part of an international coalition of organisations which are involved with pharmaceutical and chemical drug approvals. So we advocate for the reduction and reduced animal use or replacement of animals in those guidelines where they can be adopted. And I think there is interest amongst the TGA in the pharmaceutical industry in Australia, but it's just that there's no one really taking the lead or coordinating things or having a time frame or the resourcing. There isn't really enough expertise within the TGA. So I think if that had that better resourcing, then we would be able to see some changes here. So I don't think it's a case of not wanting to do something. It's just not necessarily having the resourcing to be able to progress.
Yeah, fair enough.
Needed.
Well, I think it's inevitable that we will move away from animal testing. I just think we should get on with it. And I appreciate your time in coming on and speaking about it this morning. More power to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having us on and talking about this important issue. Thank you.
No, cheers. Chief Executive Officer, Animal Free Science Advocacy, Rachel Smith, with us here on the 2SM Breakfast Show.